Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Metrics Flair interview about customer success stories. My name is Isidora, and I will be your host today. So I'm very excited to be in this interview role to meet and talk with such awesome people from the customer-oriented industry. And today, I'm more than happy to introduce my new guest. His name is Stijn Smet, but I have his permission to call him Stino. So I would dare to say he's a great comedian, and really his positive energy is spreadable, trust me. So that was my first impression. So you will also see during this interview. But when we talk about his career passion, it is definitely customer oriented. So Stino has been in the customer success role for 4 years, I think. He has recently become a customer success team lead in Logtex company. So Stino, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Isidora. I'm so happy to be here and that you reached out for this interview, so I can spread my knowledge within the whole world.
Yeah, I'm happy to learn from you and to listen to your stories. And are you ready for this chit chat today?
Yeah, 100%. Shoot, I would say.
Perfect. Let's make it then fun. So I would like to start with my first question. So let's start from your beginnings in this industry. Some newbies maybe find this one inspiring. So what did you want to be when you were younger, for example? And after that, maybe one more precisely question. How or when did you know you wanted to be in a customer-oriented world, actually?
Well, the thing is, and I think that it all tracks back to when I was younger, maybe. I've always been a people person. So I feed from the energy of people around me, and I also want to do good and be good and give back to the world, because then it's when you receive like really, really nice energy. So that's also when I decided, when I went to uni, for example, to go to law school, because I wanted to help people in the world. And also I didn't know what to do 2 days before I started the uni, but it's also like a learning path that was really broad, and that's why I decided to do law school. Because you have a bit of everything, a bit of psychology, economics, sociology, and stuff like that, and also law. So that was the reason, because it was a really broad scope. But then again, I have a really, really big moral compass. So I would be a real poor lawyer, because I don't think I could defend bad guys in my life. So I would be really, really poor. And that's when I decided a bit to go more into the private working environment, and to see if there were like customer-facing roles, but customer-facing roles more into like building relationships, and not really on the selling side, because I'm not a hard seller as well. I'm more of a soft seller, really using the relationship you build with customers. And then I encountered a job of a customer success. Didn't know what it was. It was like, I think the first time I heard it, when a friend of mine said that she had a job opening at the company at the time that I worked for. And then it was like, okay, let me do it, because I knew it was only helping customers out. It was also not really customer service. So it was really account management, but after sales. But it was the first time I heard about it. And then I joined. And then 4 years later, here I am, customer success manager.
4 year, man. Yeah, actually, that is a great story, because I couldn't suppose for sure what was your wish from your boyhood, actually. But I somehow had the impression that something was related to acting or art, maybe because of your Carrie Bradshaw moments. Probably made me think like that.
Yeah.
So I especially love those scary moments on your LinkedIn posts. Such awesome Carrie photos with your face and her hair, and a great useful content following that. Actually, it's really So, but about all, I want to point out that it's really blessing when you find your purpose, actually, somewhere where you feel you belong and also can contribute to the community. So thank you for sharing this one.
Not a problem.
So regarding those beginnings, it's always somehow the hardest thing to start with something new, and to grab the thread, start working on your knowledge, learn a lot, to read a lot, following the right people from the industry, for example. So what would you like to share? Would you like to share with us what are the most helpful resources that helped you along the way?
The first thing I would say is having like a great mentor. I had the privilege to have one of, the best VP in my eyes, VP of Customer Success at the company that I worked for previous to LockTalk. So that will be already one, having a peer or a manager that is really passionate as well about customer success and gives you the room to grow and to fail, and celebrate that fail in some kind of way, because you learn from it and that you don't are being accountable for, well, in some kind of way, but that it's not bad to make mistakes, and only from mistakes you can grow. But also celebrate every win together, no matter how small. Imagining you're doing your first or your second onboarding ever, someone cheering you on, that one of the steps of the onboarding is maybe quicker completed than anticipated, which is completely normal in an onboarding, that you complete every step. But if you celebrate it, it gives you confidence, and you learn from the experience. So like having a great manager will be one. And second to that, I would say also have a company that gives you the platform to learn. There are a lot of great customer success certification trainings, especially the one of Success Hacker, which is really great. And also joining the CS community on LinkedIn, I would say. They're very extraordinary customer success managers over there who are maybe your non-official mentors, but you can learn from them. There are a lot of great articles. There are a lot of subgroups, like CS for women, for example, is also a really small group for like really powerful women that work in the customer success game, customer success managers in action. So that would be like the three top things I can think of right now, like having a great manager that gives you the room to grow, also having a company that gives you learning platforms in every way possible. Otherwise it would be like they pay for your tuition, or they have an internal library for trainings. And then the third one, I would say, is joining the CS community on LinkedIn, because they're really amazing people on there.
Yeah, I can imagine. Actually, the mentorship program and also training program is unnecessary when you start in every business, actually. So I believe this will mean a lot for people to hear, and especially to understand that beginnings at the end of the day need time, effort, and more important, to be done. And when you're surrounded, as you said, with some great examples of successful people, and also with resources, for example, encourage that your intention, everything becomes somehow easier, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's move with the most recent changes in your career path. So move up from a customer success manager role to customer success lead. So what would be the difference between your manager and success role? We already talked about it, but I would like to share with audience,
Well, the first thing I would say, and that's maybe the most surprising thing to say, but you're more accountable for everything. Because the first 2 years as a customer success manager, I was like this really scared bird learning to fly, if I could say so. And now I don't or there is always someone keeping his or her hands above your head to protect you, because it can be a team manager, it can be a VP, but there was always someone guarding me from the big bad world, I would say, or like internally, from higher management, for example. Well, not really protecting me, but I wasn't accountable for everything, I would say, from the aspects of a customer success department. Let's say, for example, how hiring is going to look, or budgeting for the department, or focus of the department, stuff like that. And that's something that I really also, I knew, but you don't know how scary the feeling maybe is to be 100% accountable for the department that you are building. So that was really hard for me. Well, yeah, it was. I can be as honest as I can be. It was really hard for me to wrap my head around it, that I no longer had that safety net. I have great bosses, so they will also protect me in some kind of way. But now there wasn't that many layers
Yeah, they
anymore
actually
between
guide
me.
you through the whole cycle, help you to adapt, to guide you, and
Yeah. So there is no, now it's me directly with the CEO, me directly with the founders, discussing about hiring, discussing about like what is the direction the CS department is going to take. So yeah, that one for sure is, I think, the biggest change that there is. Otherwise than that, yeah, still also it's me that's deciding how things are getting handled within success, not anyone else. So I think that's really a blessing.
yeah.
I wanted to say also it's a blessing and a curse, but it's not really a curse. It's a blessing, but it's a hard blessing some kind of way, because you need to learn it, and you only learn it when you take that leap. And I had this amazing opportunity. I had this amazing company that's Lockdocs, which gives me every tool to learn from it. And even then, maybe I don't need no longer a person above me, because also they let me fail and they let me win and they let me celebrate it. So
That's
in that
actually
kind of
good
way,
to learn new things, actually. Yeah.
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 So that would be the biggest
Trend.
change, I would say. Yeah.
Well, I understand that you have more responsibility in this new role, so I'm sure it's actually challenging, but I feel like you really enjoy it all.
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
love it. It's a learning curve. All the knowledge that I've taken along the first 2 years as a junior, as a senior, as a strategic customer success manager, now I can really build my own foundation. I really knew from the start that I wanted to be the first CS person somewhere where there wasn't a success department, which is really, really satisfying. And it's the best opportunity I could wish for at this stage of my career. I'm really grateful to have such opportunity, which is really, yeah, it's really amazing to do, to build a CS department from scratch. I can't say it otherwise.
What does it look like to grow, for example, a team from scratch? What do you see as a challenge here? I know that you mentioned that is a blessing and that you are grateful for that, but you probably have some challenges from day to day.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, now I'm starting to hire for my first ever team member. So people that see this, hire. The vacancy is on on lockdocs.com. But I think the hardest thing is as well is that I will compare a lot with myself, because in the first 3 years learning as a customer success manager, I set the bar really, really high for myself. So it's comparing with the vibe that I have and had when I started out. So I think having that larger look inside of the job market where people are applying for it. So as I said, there are more serious customer success managers, or the way of working is completely different. So I need to take that into account, because I can learn from also someone else who is not maybe that flamboyant as me or or loud as me. So yeah, I would say that, because I would compare. The other thing I would say is also that the other side is that I may be not too strict on some levels, I would say, of like competence someone should have, because I really think customer success should come from the heart, as in your blood, and everything else around it you can learn. So if I see that, like imagine we ask for X years of experience in some kind of field. But the thing is also, if you have that experience, but CS is not in your blood, like it won't be a success in the end. But this CS is in your blood, but you don't have that experience, like that you can learn. So I think hiring will be also the first thing, and because it's my first time that I hire for first team members, so that I would say would be a the first challenge.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think I am a great cheerleader. So I think the first one that joined my team will have that freedom and will have that opportunity to learn, to grow, to fail, to do everything and be the next, yes, superstar, I would say. But like America's Next Top Model, but like more CS Star bootcamp with me. No, that I would say is the main challenge also now as a leader. And then new challenges will come along the way. Like your first one-to-ones, your first bad hire, your first review of your team member, because that's also something that I never did. So it will also be my first time. And like I said, I'm more like a people's person. So I need to be, not need to be, but I want to be more on a friendly basis with, or want to be friends even more, that step further with my colleagues. So yeah, I think that it will be hard for me to learn from when I need to be firm and when I need to be a leader and when can I be joyful. And so finding that balance between two, I would say, will be a challenge in the long run.
Yeah, that's really makes sense. So a lot of things to handle inside that one role, and you as a team leader actually constantly work on developing some new soft skills. So it's not all about technical knowledge, if I understand well.
Yeah, 100%. It will also be like soft skills, leadership skills.
Yeah,
I think I have them, but I have to try them out.
Yeah. You're so friendly and you smiling every time when I see you, and that actually leads me to my next question. So for example, how is important for customer success managers to be a product expert in the end of the day?
I would say expert in the products 100%. Expert in the field where the product is presenting itself, not so much. For example, you have a product that's situated in healthcare, for example, like how you should, what functionalities your product has to give value to the companies that work in healthcare, for example, but you don't need to know everything of healthcare, for example. You need to have like a strong basics for it, but at the end of the day, it's your customer that needs to use the product. They work in it. You don't do the work of your customer. You only will show them the value on how they will scale and how will they gain efficiency in their day-to-day job using your product. So you need to know the product like inside out, like 100% at the end of the day, because you need to show them value in every corner of your product. But there is a fine line, because at the end of the day, also it's your customer that needs to do the work and needs to see the value, and they work with the product. Because I'm not doing a corporate tax return for them. I am not filing annual accounts for them. I'm not doing the bookkeeping for my customer. I'm not recording videos for them in their job. But I will show them how to use the product. I will show you where everything is to show you value on short term or long term. So yeah, that I would say is it stops somewhere. Like the product 100% and you know what it does and you know the value and you believe also in the value that it brings to your customers. And you have also a healthy interest in the work field of your customers, and you train yourself also a little bit in that, because you need to also be able to tell the story. Storytelling is really important, and also know the pains a bit of the customer. If they explain you a situation or a use case, if you then don't know what a certain term is within the work environment they're in, then I would say like that you definitely should have, but like really deep knowledge, only surface knowledge of the work area that they're working in, but 100% knowledge of the product that you're working for. That I would say is really important.
Yeah, that makes sense, to help them to patch things up, and on the other hand, to help them to grow their business, show that value that you present. And maybe that technical knowledge part with a soft skill part, that may be key combination in the end.
Yeah.
And also storytelling, as you previously mentioned.
100%. You need to believe in the company that you work for. You need to believe in the product, because otherwise your customer will feel like you can't fake it. As a customer success manager, you do it day in, day out. And if you fake your interest in the product that you're trying to gain value out for your customers, if you fake that, like, no, I think the relationship with your customer would be set up to fail. So if you're breaking into the game of customer success, if you're thinking of doing a customer success job, like you need to be 100% interested in the company you're
Honest.
applying for and for the product. Like that's also one of the main things that I've learned. And also tell people to, if they search for a customer success job, like ask for a demo of the platform, ask for a demo of the product that you, of the company that you're going for. And if you feel, if you like what you see and you really have some sense of enthusiasm, like then you know on the long run you will definitely be a great customer success manager, because that's also one you want to learn also about the product. And that's a technical skill we already talked about. And if you have none interest or whatsoever, or even in the domain that they're working in, like that's set up to fail.
They can feel if you're not honest with them, actually. So
or even enthusiastic. If you doing an onboarding and you do that with like zero energy because you don't believe in the product, like that's the worst. I would say.
I agree. So, I often hear a discussion about how some skills can be learned through the way, but some traits you just have to have before you start as a customer success hero. So, from your point of view, what is the most crucial trait someone needs to have in your role, for example? And what do you think, for example, is the biggest misconception when people talk about customer success expertise?
I would say the biggest misconception is that customer success is basically customer service. That's the one that I hate the most.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, and I think we have that all over the world, like, for example, not to break down or like diminish the importance of customer service. Like it's also really, really important to have customer service for day-to-day problems that someone has with a tool, like support, customer support. Is really important, and is also a really important thing in the world of the customer, but that's completely different with customer success. The reason why, like, customer support is there to help you short term with the problem that you're having. For example, I can't upload anything, or the tool doesn't do what I want it to do, or I'm having an error of some kind. Like those support agents, which is the most also grateful job in the world, I would say, to help the customers like right on the spot for the problem that they're having right now. But that's not customer success. Customer success is more than that. It's different, not more than that, it's different than that. It's more based on the customer has bought the product and wants to gain value out of it. And it's really together with the customer, setting goals, checking what they want, and working together towards that goal. And that's more on the long run. And it's more about a bigger problem. It's not about an error that they are encountering on short term. It's more like, okay, we have a company-wide, not really problem, but we want to better a process. For example, we want to be more efficient. We want to be more X, Y, and Z. And then it's really a larger term relationship, as we are not customer support. It's not that we heard them for 5 minutes and then they go on with their day. But both jobs, like customer success and customer support as well. But that's also the biggest misconception, that customer support is less than customer success. That's not true. I think they're equal in my eyes, because customer support is really, 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 really important. If a customer has problems, that they also help the customer out. So in that kind of way, we are a bit of a combination, but customer success goes a little bit further. Than it doesn't stop when the problem is fixed. It really checks long term on how you give value to the customer. So that, I would say, is the biggest misconception, that customer success is basically customer support, which is not. But then again, because customer support sometimes, and I will say that customer support sometimes have a negative connotation next to it, because if we hear customer support, we always think of those big firms, online shops, for example, like Amazon, big clothing brands, stuff like that. And then we all encountered that as well, that we were waiting on a package and it didn't just arrive, and we contact customer support, but because we're one of many, sometimes those people aren't that friendly. So we think that customer support agents are like not doing their best helping you out. But then again, it's a different kind of story because we are living at that ourselves. But if we're talking about customer support in SaaS businesses, then I think they're unmissable in that chain. But that's also when how do I end that part of the story? Imagining like our parents, like if they hear customer support, like if I hear my parents talk about customer support, or they like ring to the phone company or to the internet company, and like those, or the electricity company, like those guys really have a shitty job because they only have angry customers at line because the internet is not working. They can't send text, they can't go on the internet, for example, stuff like that. And I'm like, no, like customer success, we go way beyond that. So basically that, I would say. And what's the biggest trait? So just to summarize, people that watch this interview, customer support is really, really important. But customer success just goes that extra mile, which is normal because otherwise it won't be two different jobs.
Much for that explanation. That's really useful to me also, and for our parents, as you previously said.
Yeah. We're not customer support. And what I would say is the biggest trait is being open. I would say being open is really important. Great listener, and just have the love for customers overall. I would say that is really, 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 really important. That I would say is the biggest trait that you need to have as a customer success manager.
Let's count 3 common things that people struggle with in your role. For example, vague customer, or how to be transparent with your customers, or how to address their needs in the end of the day. So what might be 3 common things that people struggle with in your role, for example?
I would say indeed, like transparency. Well, the thing is, you always should be transparent. Like if customer has feedback and internally product decides that we're not going that way, I would say 100% share that with the customer. But it's the storytelling around it that can be really difficult, because upfront that the client won't like hearing the answer that you're going to give them. So it's also really, sometimes it can be really hard to bring that story and to the customers, but upfront that they're going to be upset. So also don't say that I learned along the way. Don't say you won't do something. Always give the reasoning behind it. Because they have more of a message on why you won't do anything than just a no yes answer. Like, no, we're not going to do this because it's not on the roadmap. Like, okay, but if you say like, okay, we're not going to do this because it's not on the roadmap, because X, Y, and Z, it's not on the roadmap, then they understand. And also
reason for that
like give the entire reasoning. If be transparent as possible. Is it because of like someone is on pregnancy leave, or someone just quit? Or say it like, sorry, our product manager just is 6 months in pregnancy leave. I don't think it's that much, like 4 months in pregnancy leave. It will take a while with kind of reorganizing internally, so it won't be done for the next 4 months. Like, give that reasoning. That I would say is really important to do, and also sometimes hard to do, because it's tricky to share some kind of information. The other thing I would say is always the feedback on time, on when something is going to be released. That is the biggest pitfall of customer success. If you share the roadmap, or like if they ask like when it's going to be released, and you're saying like in 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks it isn't being released, so you need to fix that. That's something I learned the hard way, that I'm like, ooh. And then go internally, and it's like, oh, you had another 2 weeks of being released. Like 2 weeks ago, you said it was going to be released today. Like, what So yeah, that's something that I learned the hard way, and it's sometimes also really hard to do because yourself are enthusiastic. So if you're having a great conversation with the customer and you're like, yeah, but no worries, it's going to be released 2 weeks later, and it isn't, that's also has some impact on your trustworthiness and your relationship with the customer sometimes. So that's also something that people should be aware of. Like, if you need to communicate something of a timeline, be as fake as possible. Like, don't say the second week of April, just say the mid of Q2. And just say, and if you can't say that, like, be just like somewhere in Q2. Like, always overpromise. No, yeah. Under promise and over deliver, not over promise and under deliver. That's never good, but under promise and over deliver, I would say. And the third thing that's sometimes hard is defending the standpoint or the feedback of a customer internally. It's really, I love working with product managers, but sometimes it can be a real battle because you have contact with it. As a customer success manager, you come in contact with everyone basically in a company, and sometimes it can be really hard if you have a great connection with a customer and that customer like threatens to leave when certain feature isn't released and product says no, and also maybe gives a really great reasoning behind it. And the idea of the day, if that customer churns, they look at you and not because of a certain feature, because of certain something, but it's caused by all small things within the same company that I would say like really fight sometimes for the customer can be really challenging because you believe indeed that feature should come and it isn't coming. That can sometimes be tiring and could be the cause of clients churning.
Yeah, I think that's really challenging also for developers and product managers in the end. So when they have to explain why something didn't catch that deadline that they previously agree or whatever. So that's really challenging in part and pain point, for example, for team members. So, but I have one specific situation in which I would like to take your opinion. So, for example, customers come to your business without a clear idea of what they need or what they want from your business. For example, they just don't have a complete understanding of their operations and the use of a product or a service. So what would be your steps, for example? How would you handle that situation?
Give them back to sales. I will give them back to sales. I will try a bow around it. I will say, here you go, sales. You did a shit job. Go again. That I would say, like, as a customer success, we're post sales. And if the customer doesn't know what he bought or why he bought it, and you notice that in the kickoff, straight back to sales.
That's like,
on that way, I'm like really cutthroat. No. The thing is, and it's not always the fault of the sales guys, sometimes like expectations or like misunderstandings sometimes, but I had a few bad sales in the various companies that I worked for, not at LockTalks, to be clear, but even I've called them bad sales, but they're maybe not bad sales. It's more like misunderstanding of what the client could expect, or most of the time it's based on misunderstanding. But the point that I want to make is that at that time I wanted to fix it myself as customer success because they bought the product and they signed the contract. So basically they're at our responsibility. But then again, as customer success, we're practically not in the sales cycle, maybe at the end to meet up with a possible new client when they are on the verge of signing. But that sometimes costs so much energy trying to rectify a bad sales. And I use that term very loosely. It isn't that bad. As I said, it's basically a misunderstanding. But what I will say is that I immediately give it back to sales. It's like, okay, I noticed that there is some kind of misunderstanding, fix it. I won't waste energy anymore. Well, I will try to help sales, that not anymore, but I won't waste my energy alone anymore.
Yeah, I understand because I'm from sales department, and you actually made a great intro for my next question. I already talk about that customer onboarding actually. So can you share a little bit about setting your customer expectation? Are there any checklists or steps you have previously defined and then go through them with your customers? And one more question connected with previous one. is it a part of a customer onboarding actually? Because I was always in doubt if customer onboarding is connected more with the sales department or success one. That's it, because I'm coming from the sales department, and the end of
Yeah,
it, I think they are both are equally important and included in that
yeah.
process. But I would like to hear your opinion.
100%. I think with it's a bit hybrid, I would say. It's always great that at the end of a sales process, the customer success comes in at the very last round. If you know as a salesperson that the contract is basically a go and it's just some formality of like signing a paper, then I would say like, okay, already introduce the customer success managers to set expectations like, okay, you're signing the contract, like this is your go-to person. He will be responsible for implementing, guiding you, whatever, into your entire subscription. I don't have really a checklist. I have a way on how it should go. Like, okay, first send an email, phone the clients up, have a date for the kickoff ready or the onboarding ready. Like, I have a way in my head on how it should run or what to send to the customer, but it's not really a hard checklist that I use. What I do use is a handover with sales to already identify maybe red flags or like things that I should be aware of as a when I'm doing the kickoff. So I have like a checklist of a handover document. I need to know the key users up front, the reason why they bought it, and stuff like that. But I repeat that same process in the entire kickoff as well. Like my kickoff is really all about getting to know the customer. It's not immediately going into the product. Like I don't even show the product in my first call as of the kickoff of the onboarding, or how you would like to call it. It's more like, okay, tell me again, why did you buy it? I wasn't in the sales talks, so show me again, why did you buy it? And then I will compare it with the sales handover document and cross-check if things add up. And then the next step would be the first training and then weekly check-ins, for example, to really build that relationship. So yeah, that's how I would say. But onboarding is more at the side of customer success because they go for the relationship long-term. With sales, I would assume also is a long-term because you then step in as well for growth and selling extra subscription, for example, or another license. So you also build for the long term. So it's a bit of a combination. Like, the thing is, it's inevitable that you work with sales on a close basis. Yeah. So you really need to be friends with sales, but onboarding is more onto the side of customer success, but it already starts in the sales cycle. That's where the unofficial onboarding starts. It's like already doing a little bit of that handover.
I understand actually. So are you include in an upselling process from that perspective, or that's the sales job, or how to?
I think it depends from company to company. Some of the companies, the customer success person does upsell. At other companies, you have an upsell account executive for it, so it's then solely that person. I would say it depends on the company or what the company expects from you as a customer success manager. But I think we naturally do upsell as customer success. The reason why is because you as a customer success manager are like a trusted advisor to your client to get them on the place that they want to be. And sometimes to let them go to the place that they want to be, they need to have extra features of your product. And sometimes those features cost money. So you use then your relationship and not really use, but well, basically you use it. You use your relationship to say, okay, client, you're here, you want to be here. Like you need to upsell on this feature to be on there. But it's not really hard selling. It's more like, it's more storytelling as well, like giving the story on how the client wants to be here, but they're here, like you really want to grow. So then you need, or even basically if you're like, okay, client, you're doing a really great job right now, but I think we can get more out of it if you use this feature. I'm even 100% sure that you gain more efficiency. So on that thing, like when you're placed in a relationship and also based on how your client's doing, I think we upsell, or we lay down the foundation for upsell. And then it's just a matter if you're responsible as a customer success manager to pull it inside or a separate account executive.
I would like to talk a little bit about that customer feedback relationship. Do you actually collect customer feedback?
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Because then you know where the client stands or where the value, what the value is that they're searching for. Like if the customer gives you feedback, it says a lot about where the value lies for the customer in the platform.
Yeah. From the sales perspective, I also can say with the confidence that feedback is a guidepost in delivering value. So when you work closely with your end users, it's important to be proactive and to follow up with them, even if they don't have an issue, for example, to contact you. So what would be your, for example, advice for those companies that don't collect data about their customer satisfaction?
I would first say, what the fuck are you doing? That would be the first thing I would say. Yeah, I would be shocked for a minute. Then I would say like start collecting it. Like even in the onboarding, you know it, and even after the onboarding, the question that I love always to ask is always like 6 months before a client renews. Just ask them like, okay, if you have a regular check-in or a business review, the question that I always ask is like, if you should renew tomorrow, will you renew or not? And if the answer is no, like really check why. It's because their value that is missing? Is it because I'm doing a shitty job? Is it because something else, for example? Now you have 6 months to figure it out until the renewal date to get them renewed. So don't be afraid to ask questions like, why aren't you using the product? What are you missing? What is blocking you? What is like, do that whole discovery, because your clients are your pot of gold on making your product better. If you don't collect product feedback, you don't know if your product is doing good in the market. You can be selling subscriptions day in, day out, but they will equally churn as fast as you close the contract in the beginning. You need to have that retention rate at all-time high, like day in, day out. And don't be afraid to ask those scary questions. Sometimes you release something and it's not what the client expects. Like, okay, you missed the momentum, but that's not hard. It only customer feedback or client feedback is 100% the source of bettering your product. 100%. And if you don't listen to your customers, your product is set up to fail.
I totally.
And then I will say again, what the fuck?
When we talk about that, learning from customer experience and improving business based on customer feedback, would you like to share how, for example, I'm not sure if you use NPS or CSAT metrics or to help to measure customer health, for example? Do they help you? Do you use these metrics?
I use them. I use them for sure, but it also depends on how willing the customer is to fill them in, because the NPS score is like how on which scale will you recommend us to a friend or a colleague. But sometimes like clients are acting really funny and then give us a 0, and then as feedback give like, I don't have any friends, and I'm like, oh God, seriously. So, and sometimes that NPS pops up and then you're like working and you can't be bothered on filling in some random survey, so they click it away, or they give you like a 4, and then when you call them up and you ask them like, hey, you gave me a 4, and then they are like, yeah, but I just clicked it away, I didn't know what it was. So I would say NPS is a good one if customers really take the time to fill it in and give some foundation to their score. If they give you like a 6 and give you a nice foundation, then you can work with that. And even if they don't give you a foundation, ask them for like, okay, why did you give us this score? Don't stop when they just give you a score, like really investigate on how that number comes along.
Yeah, to go deeper.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But is it 100% solid way an NPS? No, because you are dependent on how the customer fills it in. And in my experience, I would say 80% of the time it's pretty accurate, but like 20% of the time it's just because bullshit. I would say.
Are there other usable metrics that you also use to bring more data about customer satisfaction? Maybe you have some other metrics.
Basically everything. Not official ones, but I think measuring metrics within your product is really important. Check which features are there. which features are really common to use and how to use them, and try to capture that in data, like how many times do they log in, how many times did they use a feature, how many stuff like that, and then all of that around, basically mix it all together to a global health score. I would say, like, we have a really nice customer success tool, Custify, that brings all of that in one global health score. So I would say, next to the official customer success metrics like NPS, SAT, there are also metrics within your own product that you need to measure, that you think that is really important. So I think with us, well, in my department, it's a combination of both.
So awesome. Well, I like this one because I think that data is everything. When you have information
100%.
about your customer experience previously collected and also filtered in a practical and useful way, it actually becomes easier to plan some further processes, and the possibility of some mistakes is actually smaller in that case. So how do you encourage team members to be more proactive and to strive for a goal, for example, and to improve their results from day to day?
By
How do you
not
encourage them?
by not showing by example, I would say. The thing is, I learned a lot by people pushing me in a certain direction, but not giving me the answer. And then you need to think about it and be proactive yourself to try things out. I will be the kind of manager that won't give you like, this is what you're going to do, A to Z finish. If you follow this, then you will have 100% result, for example. Well, it depends. If it's really a severe situation that the client is almost going to church, yeah, 100%, of course, from A to Z, I will help him. But if it's more like, yeah, I'm not kind of sure how to handle this client because he's not responding, he's a ghost, for example, he's not responding, then just I would give some crumbs that the person or my team member will think about it and then try just some stuff. And then inevitably you will be more proactive because you're trying things yourself.
Yeah.
So it will always be, because I learned it that way, and I think that's the best way to be proactive and to self-develop yourself, is that someone is like giving you open questions and pushing you in a certain direction. And then by the end, if you've done it, you're thinking like, oh my God, I did it all by myself, but it was because of something your manager said. And so I had a lot of those moments when I was like, you're not giving me anything. And then by the end, I was like, oh, I see what you did there. So
you get something from that experience.
Yeah.
You actually put them to that distance to make some researches, to research some things in their own.
100%.
Yeah. So it's
I will be that kind of a manager. Like,
great. I really appreciate it.
I will give some crumbs, but I won't be give the surprise.
Yeah, but it's very important to work on a team improvements since they are in the first lines that end users talk with. So somehow,
yeah, 100%.
I think it's sometimes crucial to start with your team, to listen to their experience inside the company and to work on their career development. So when they become happier and more satisfied, they reflect more, how to say, positive energy, for example, to end users, to clients. So
100%, can't agree more.
Yeah. So, but there is one more thing about building a rapport with your customers. So I think that might be the most important step in their life cycle when they come to you with some problems, issues, and how much do you pay attention to your team on body language, for example, on tone of voice and when they interacting with
100%. On everything, I would say, because I'm a people's person, I feed off the energy of others, that I need to see that the energy is also 100% correct. I'm like an open book, and I expect I expect the same from my team, that they're also an open book, that they can come to whatever to me. If I'm doing a shit job, that they can tell me. Like, no, there is like a flat structure, an open atmosphere, and the energy should be on point all the time. You can have 100% all the time, meaning that you need to feel that you can say anything. If you're afraid to call a customer, if you're afraid to fail, like this should be or can be or allowed to be talked about.
Yeah.
I would say. So yeah, I would be 100% because I think that's the most important thing. You are as good as your team. So you feed also of your you learn from your team. Like basically we're all cheerleaders. So yeah, an open environment, I would say 100%, because I think it's really important and I learned a lot from it myself, being in such an open team environment. And it helped me to learn faster, more intense, and not be on my island. No, I am just being myself and feeding of energy, I would say.
That's actually a great advice. So, Stino, did I tire you with questions?
No, not at all, not at all. It's fun. It's been really fun.
Okay, perfect. Because I have two more questions for you.
Okay,
We are
great.
actually nearing
Shoot.
the end, but I have two more questions to ask. And let's say these are two bonus questions from my side. So
Okay,
the first one
great.
is for those book lovers. Would you like to recommend your top three books? It's not mandatory to be in customer related or customer focused. So three books that you love, that you learn something from them, or
Okay, you're going to laugh. I would say customer success. I will keep the best one for the end, but I would say for customer success, it's I needed to look it up, but the seven pillars of customer success from Wayne McCullough is really great if you're starting to build a bit of a customer success department. So that helped me really a lot with like starting to build my customer success department, which is still ongoing. And then also the customer success professional handbook is just also great for like the basics to learn about customer success. And the last book, which is really funny, but the last book that reminded me on always being myself, and this one is going to sound really gay, but Confessions of a Shopaholic. The reason why is because the character of that book is really clumsy and really loud and really and everything, but she didn't change herself, and in the end it all worked out. And basically I'm the same. I'm loud and like I won't change my tone of voice by customers. I will always be 100% energetic if it's the most boring suited guy mid-60s on the board, or it's a new starting out manager that's 35, for example, and is also Gen Z, as we say it. I won't change my voice. Well, the thing is, it depends, of course, but I will always stay true to myself, and that's something that book learned me. So you have two professional ones and one.
Yeah, I like that one. I haven't read them, so I wrote them down for myself, and I will share my experience with you as soon as I read it. So my last question for you will be: what advice would you give for your younger self? For example, think about it.
What advice would I give my younger self? I would say always.
This one is really hard. I was also thinking about that. I'm not sure what I would like to say to my younger. So
I would say stay true to yourself. Don't try to fit into the mold that people expect you to be. That I would say. That is advice that I wanted to give to my younger self. And also maybe save a little more money.
Yeah, that's also
later. I would say if 10 years ago that I knew that the house prices are that expensive, I would save so much more.
Yeah.
But then again, I had a great life already.
This one is a great question for the audience also to think about that. I'm not sure how people think about those things, and this is a great one, I think. So, bing, bing.
Yeah, indeed. I would say, and the answer I'll also maybe want to say, like, don't ever regret something. Like, don't live in regret. Everything happens for a reason, which is pretty cheesy, and every experience makes you to the person that you are today. So enjoy because it's a great ride that is called life.
I totally agree with that one. So
Hello.
thank you.
And someone has to have that as a tattoo on his body someday. Quote it. Enjoy the ride. That's called life. Quoted by Stino. If someone does that,
yeah,
I buy them a beer.
Beer or tequila. For me, tequila.
Or tequila or anything.
Yeah, I agree. So this was a great talk, Stino. I really enjoyed every minute. And I have opened up a bunch of new questions, I think, in my head, but I can write them down and keep them for our next meeting, for example.
Yeah,
I actually
100%.
will meet again to chat and exchange some new insights if you agree sometime. And I want you previously to thank you on my own behalf and on behalf of Metrics Flare team. And thank you for the value you actually have given us today, for the experience you shared. And I wish you many successful steps in your future work. So
thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It was really, really great. It was tricky sometimes to think myself on the answers. I hope anyone who watches this learns from something. And also maybe a bit of a disclaimer, you don't need to agree with me what I tell you. And if you want to have a discussion about it, you can always add me on LinkedIn and then we can have a proper discussion about it.